This is the CitizenLink report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? $500 buys an hour of studio time. And we usually don't use a whole hour, but it covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. That means your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Just click on Donate. Thanks from all of us. America is getting ready to vote on a lot more than just candidates. We'll be voting on marriage, marijuana, religious freedom, and the life issue. This is the CitizenLink report. I'm Stuart Shepard, along with the person who heads up our analyst team, Carrie Earll. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Stuart.
You know, if people wait until they get to the ballot box to read through some of these things that are going to be on the ballot in the fall, it is too late because they're confusing. It's hard to figure out exactly where you stand if you don't take time beforehand to do that.
It's interesting that almost half of the states have some kind of a mechanism for a referendum, an amendment, or an appeal of a statute. So almost any state you live in, it's possible that there could be some kind of a ballot measure. It is a good idea to know what they are before you go in so you can keep the lines moving on Election Day.
We want to highlight some of those today. We're going to go by topic rather than by state because I think it'll make it easier for us to digest what we're hearing here. First, the marriage issue. What are we seeing?
Well, we have 4 states that have marriage in some way on the ballot. In the state of Minnesota, we have a state marriage amendment. This is similar to what has been passed in more than 30 states, which will put in the state constitution of Minnesota, marriage is between one man and one woman. Each time that particular question has been put to the voters, 32 times to date, voters have said, yes, that's the definition that we want. The other 3 states are going to be a little different. In Washington State and in Maryland, you have situations where the state legislature and the governor have approved same-sex marriage. So these are going to be repeal initiatives, votes of the people to decide whether or not they want same-sex marriage to be in their state. And finally, in the state of Maine, question 1 is an initiative that would straight out legalize same-sex marriage. Now, Maine has an interesting history. 3 years ago, there was a vote by the people of Maine after the state legislature and the governor approved same-sex marriage. Pro-family folks got it on the ballot, and they were able to repeal same-sex marriage 3 years ago. So this is kind of deja vu for Maine. They've been through this before. Yeah. They defeated it by about 30,000 votes last time, so that's going to be a tight race.
All right, the next topic is one that we're seeing here in Colorado, and that's the full legalization of marijuana.
It is, and it's interesting. This has been on the ballot in Colorado as well, and it was rejected a few years ago. Colorado is one of a handful of states that have what's called medicinal marijuana. This would be recreational marijuana. It takes it to a new level, and when you look at this nationally, it looks like it could be the beginning of a trend, that if this would pass in Colorado, we could see, like we did with medicinal, more pushes toward this. Now, if this passes in Colorado, Stuart, this would make Colorado's law the most liberal in the world, not just in the nation, more liberal than even the Netherlands. Wow. It would allow an adult over 21 years of age to possess and consume up to an ounce of marijuana. Now, that doesn't sound very much, but that's the equivalent, I'm told, of about 60 joints. So that's talking about a good amount of drugs here. There is no requirement to be a resident. So this could become a drug tourism state as well. You could see drug cartels having new interest in Colorado because they could grow and sell marijuana here. It's also bad for business. Colorado is one of many states where we're trying to help bring in new jobs and new businesses. If you've got a business with a zero tolerance for drug use, this really conflicts the law with those principles, because how are you going to test an employee and then fire them if it's legal under Colorado law for them to be high? Right. You have concerns about people driving. It's still illegal federally, so you've set up Colorado to be at odds with the federal government. So that's Amendment 64 in Colorado.
Now, another issue that we've seen come up on the ballot in several states over the years, that's physician-assisted suicide, a difficult issue.
It is, and it is one because we want to provide care for people who are terminally ill. When someone is terminally ill and asking for suicide, that is an indication that something is wrong that likely could be addressed. It may be pain or other symptoms. We need to treat the symptoms and not kill the patient. So this is going to be on the ballot in Massachusetts. It is question 2. The other 2 states that have legalized assisted suicide right now are Washington State and Oregon. And in those states, there's increasing evidence of elder abuse that is tied to this as well. So that is a concern.
And that comes under the heading of life issues, but there are other pro-life issues that are on the ballot. Let's talk about them.
Well, in Montana, Referendum 120 have an initiative that would require parents to be notified before their teenage daughters have an abortion. Pretty common sense as far as parental rights is concerned, as far as teenagers maybe not knowing their medical history, not being able to make medical decisions like this on their own. In states where we've seen parental involvement laws on the books, we've also seen a drop in the pregnancy rate among teenagers. So it does have a positive effect as far as keeping parents in the loop. So that will be on the agenda in Montana. In Florida, there's Amendment 6, and that would ban public funding of abortion. When we look at polls across the nation consistently, taxpayers do not want their money going to fund abortion. Right. So that will be on the ballot in Florida, and Florida does require a 60% supermajority in order to amend the Constitution.
One of the issues we've been talking a lot about this year is the idea of just religious freedom as a large concept. At least one state's going to be voting on affirming religious freedom. Tell us about that.
Well, we're back to the Sunshine State with Florida and Amendment 8. It's the Florida Religious Freedom Amendment, but it is different from amendments that we have seen in other states, as in North Dakota recently. This is a repeal of a section of the Florida Constitution that bans the use of public funds for religious groups. So what we have there are some legal conflicts where social programs that are run by churches or other religiously affiliated groups are being challenged, and it threatens to shut down things like foster care and homeless shelters and food banks. So this is an attempt to correct that so that these groups could receive those public funds and continue in the good work that helps everybody.
Now, one of the things, looking at this in the large picture again, is we talk about just ballot initiatives and referenda in general. They're often placed on the ballot in a way that can be confusing to the voter. A yes seems like what you'd want, but actually what you desire is a no to do what you're trying to do on the ballot. What's the best way for people to sort through these and figure out where they stand on the issues so when they go to the ballot box they can vote appropriately?
Well, you know, that's not intentional, but what happens sometimes is the legislature is involved, the Secretary of State's involved, and the language can get twisted. So we would encourage you to check with the pro-life or pro-family groups in your state. You can go to CitizenLink.com, look at the tab that says state organizations, and see if the Family Policy Council in your state will have information on these as well. There's plenty of information out there, and again, to be registered to vote, we still have a few days in most states to do that, and to be informed voters so that when we cast our ballot, we remember our vote counts. Do a little research, get up to speed on what's going on, and to exercise your civic responsibility.
And you're absolutely right. If you're not registered to vote, we'd like to help you do that. You can go to committovote2012.com. It's a special website that we've set up that Focus on the Family is set up to help you find the proper forms. You can fill them out online, print them out, and send them into your state, and you'll be registered to vote. All right, Carrie, thanks for all your insights and for keeping track of all this. I know it's a lot to keep track of. We also appreciate you for checking in with us each week. We appreciate your emails and your comments that you send to us. You may always write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. We do read every note that comes in. We encourage you to pray for this election coming up. Just pray for wisdom and clarity for all of us as we look across all of the ballots and try to figure out for whom to vote and for what to vote as we make our decision as a country come November. And remember, stand tall and be heard.